Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1450.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
What's the worst thing for your car's interior? No, it's not that milkshake the kid spilled in the back seat. It's the sun. Harmful UV rays cook your automobile's interior hour after hour when it's parked outside, even on a cloudy day. What's the solution? Covercraft sunscreens. They protect your dash, seats, and interior finishes from those damaging UV rays while keeping the interior temperature tolerable, even on the hottest summer days. No more painfully sizzling seats and steering wheels for you. They unfold quickly and easily install, stay where you put them, and are custom patterned for an exact fit. The foam core acts as a cooling insulator, and you can get yours in different colors and finishes. And they even fold up easily and store under your seat or on the floor. I've used Covercraft sunscreens for years, and they are a fast and easy solution that protect my beloved cars when they're not in the garage. Learn more and order yours at covercraft.com. Want to protect your entire vehicle? Get a car cover from Covercraft. They have those too. That's covercraft.com and tell them Mark sent you. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for the enthusiast and the collector. It's your monthly must-read whether you dream of owning a collector car, have 2 cars, or 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. Plus, you'll get the exclusive SCM guide to restoration shops included for free. At checkout, use the code CARSYEAH and receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription. It's an exclusive offer from me here at Cars Yeah. I'm Mark Green, and I love Sports Car Market magazine. Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm really revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special guest. Calling in all the way from Ireland, James Rowe. James, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I am indeed. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll have some fun. James Rowe is a 21-year-old F3 Americas racer from Ireland. He started racing as a child and amassed podium finishes and record-breaking results. In the Ginetta class, he earned 4 victories and pole positions and broke the junior lap record at Ireland's famed Mondello Park. He's raced in the Irish Supercar RT2000, Formula Ford 1600, and today, as I said, in the F3 Americas. While racing Formula Ford, James set a yet-unbroken lap record previously held by that Formula One guy, David Coulthard. You may have heard of him. James was nominated for the Irish Young Racing Driver of the Year award and has been named the Motorsport Ireland Dunlop Irish Sport Council Young Racing Driver of the Month. How do they put all that on one trophy? I don't know. I'd like to see that. That must be a big one. He was also selected for the inaugural Irish Motor Racing Academy Team Ireland. So, James, I've told our listeners just a little bit about your career, what a career you've had at a young age. Would you take a moment and share a little more about that career before I jump into the questions and a very obvious passion and skill set you have for racing?
Yeah, no problem. No, you touched on it all there pretty much. It's been an exciting career so far. Started quite late at 15 years old here in Ireland in Ginetta Juniors, as you mentioned, which is quite late in the sense of your average IndyCar driver, or if you want to call it Formula One driver or whatever. They all seem to start when they're 4, 5, 6 years old in go-karts. So
yeah.
No go-karts for me. There's an interesting story behind it. My family has always been involved in motor racing. My uncle, Michael Rowe, was a professional race car driver in the US many, many years ago, back in the 80s, and had a successful career around the world in the likes of Can-Am and Japanese sports cars and Le Mans and a little bit of IndyCar and so on. So the passion was always there, so to speak, as I was growing up. But for various reasons, just we didn't have the resources to go racing at the time when I wanted to start as a kid. So I, in fact, saved up and put a lot of effort into getting the funds together to buy my first car, and I bought that Ginetta Junior, and we went racing. And from there, things have progressed pretty fast. It's been 5 years since we started racing, and done 2 years in Ireland, 2 years in the UK in Formula Ford 1600, and fortunate enough to have wins and lap records in everything we race in so far over this side of the world. And then got an opportunity to go to the USA last year and race in a series called F2000, which also went extremely well, number of wins and lap records. And this year got offered a scholarship to go and compete in US Formula 3, which we did. And again, had I think a really positive year. Came away as a Formula 3 race winner in our inaugural year at a professional level. So it's been a crazy journey so far in the space of 5 years, but it's all good stuff.
Yeah, sounds like it. It sounds like you've got racing fuel in your bloodline here with the family member and so forth. And, you're a testament to somebody that is hard driven, experienced, dedicated, disciplined, all those things you have to be to be a race car driver. Really fantastic. I think it's great what you've done. So congratulations for all that. We're going to learn a lot more, but first I want to start with a success quote or a mantra. Do you have one in your life that is a bit of an inspiration for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that come to mind when you mentioned that, but one quote that always sticks to me, purely because in motor racing and really in any sport in general, you have a lot more bad days than you do good days, because you're not going to win every race you do or be the quickest every day you're on track, whatever. So one quote that I always turn to is, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts. So whenever there's a rough day at a track, or things don't go so well, or maybe I make a mistake, or we've a mechanical issue with the car, or whatever, maybe on the sponsorship front, if a deal fell through or whatever, I don't know, just every day is not going to be a great day. It's the courage to continue and learn from that mistake or that moment or that thing that happened and progress. So that's what I use quite a bit, and it's pretty relatable.
That's a hard thing for people to do, is to realize that when you have a setback, that it's not fatal, it's not the end. Let me ask you this, because this is a tough thing for a lot of people. They feel like they get one or two setbacks and they're like, it's over. This isn't worth it anymore. You can't do that in racing. There's other professional sports is a good example. Even acting is a good example. One year you're getting an Oscar, and the next year everybody's talking bad about you, or they've forgotten about you because someone else comes along. What do you do, or how do you get your mindset around that concept when those low points hit? And we're going to talk about challenges and failures a little later, but I'd love to know, do you have a technique or something that you do that gets you past that point so you can move forward? I
don't think I have a technique in its sense. Maybe it's just something natural, but I think due to the fact that I had to put a lot of effort into even going racing in the first place, saving up all the money and buying the car to start off with, as opposed to being given a car and going racing. My thought process has always been that nothing's ever given, everything's earned. So that kind of reflects then when things are going badly, that, okay, it went bad, we're going to learn from it, but it's only adding more fuel to the fire, as a lot of sacrifices have been made and are being made to do what I do and get to where I am, both personally and family and supporters and partners and so on. So I'm just adamant not to let anyone down, and I think it's probably a bit of ignorance to a degree, in the sense that I don't take no for an answer many times.
Yeah.
And just like I said, there's very, very few things that pull us back. I mean, we so many setbacks over the years, and the thing with motor racing is that there's a lot of things that are out of your control, as in you can only control the controllables. So I just learned from an early age just to literally, excuse the pun, drive on and not dwell on things for too long. The world keeps turning around without all these things.
It's something I've heard from a lot of race car drivers, and you see it at a very high professional level in racing, is it seems that race car drivers have this mindset of focus on the now. The history is just a data point. My regular listeners have heard this ad nauseum, but I have a Ayrton Senna quote on my business cards, that the past is just data. I only see the future. And I love that because, Senna is one of my racing heroes. I love his whole approach and attitude. But it seems to me that race car drivers tend to have this attitude of, look, we're just focusing on the now, because the commentators, the people that are interviewing them after a race, they're always wanting to push them into, okay, are you going to be a champion this year? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, look, I'm just focusing on what is happening right now. Well, then we'll challenge the next race when it gets here. And then it's segmenting those parts of your life. Is that something that helps?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously there's two sides to that. I agree completely with what you're saying, but in this industry, obviously you got to plan ahead a little bit, but certainly from a performance side of things and driving and getting results out of myself on track, it's easiest just to focus on the now, because there's so many variables, even from day to day at a racetrack, with track temperatures, track surfaces, the weather, setup on the car, what you done to the car overnight, maybe your driving style on that particular day. There are all these different variables, and every day you got to be so adaptable, and not one day is going to be the same as the next. So if you just focus on each day as it comes and not get set in this routine. One thing that I heard recently from a guy who was struggling a little bit at a racetrack, and he said to me, there's a local track here now, and he said, I don't know what's going on. He said, I've been driving this line for 10 years and all of a sudden it's not working. And I said, yeah, but you do not notice that there's new surface just put down on the entry, so you got to adapt and change it. So to back up what you're saying, that was someone who was living in the past to a degree. Oh, it worked for 10 years, it's going to work. Why is it not working today? But the fact that in motor racing, it's something where you gotta just focus on that day as if it's a new day and take everything as it comes. And that's certainly an aspect that I couldn't agree with you more on.
Well said. I would love for you to share a story that instigated this passion you have for racing. Is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you wanted to be a race car driver? Yeah,
as I said, growing up with my uncle Michael having had a professional career, and basically that it was his career was motor racing as a racing car driver, and he had quite a lot of success doing so. Growing up, hearing the stories about him and so on, obviously naturally created an interest. And my granddad, which was me, my dad and my uncle's father, was a dirt track racer here in Ireland. And then my dad done a little bit of motor racing, but the family business here in Ireland is a motor repair shop. So we fix cars and sell some cars and so on. So from a very, very young age, I mean, since I could walk, I was around cars at the family repair shop, and I was hearing stories about my uncle's racing careers and looking at photo albums in my grandmother's house and just seeing all these photos of my dad, my uncle and my granddad racing and being around cars. So you could say it was in the blood from when I was born, and the passion was there, and I just really, really wanted to go racing. But as I touched on at the start, when we first got going, or when we first went to get going, the deal was with my uncle and my dad, they said, look, okay, we have the resources to run the car, we have a shop, we have the tools, we have something to pull around on, and we have the knowledge. My uncle's raced at Le Mans and Indy 500 level, and we're just going to run something here at our local racetrack, which is 2 miles away from my house. It's the only racetrack in Ireland, believe it or not.
Wow.
And they said, look, things are a little tight, you get the car and we'll make the rest of it work. So I was 14 or 13 years old when we had that conversation. Just turned 14 a week later. I remember it so well. And then from 13 to, you could say, 14 and a half, as silly as that sounds, I put all my funds together on everything from working at the family repair shop and doing some jobs in different places around the area and just getting all the money together and selling what I could. I got enough money together and bought my first car, which was a Ginetta Junior Ireland car, and it's a little spec Formula with a 1400 Ford engine and a rear wheel drive car with a tubular chassis and a Quay 5-speed gearbox. And it's a pretty fun car, and I got the car and we went and ran it ourselves, and in the first race ever on the racetrack we were on the podium and said, damn, there must be something here.
Yeah, and I think I got something going on.
we should maybe take this a little more serious. And
yeah, cool.
We then went chipping away and worked away and had a win that year and stuck at it for a second year. And again, at this stage, I've only been racing 2 years and did nothing before that, bar trashing some old banged up cars around the fields around our house that we robbed from the repair shop that weren't worth fixing. My brother and I used to do that, but other than that, that was it. And that's where the love started. And I guess things just progress pretty fast. And so I think it all goes back to just being in the family and being in the blood. And the cars are always spoken about at our house, whether it's a breakfast table or dinner table, whatever. Cars are brought up in some shape or form.
Of course. Well, I talked to this earlier in our talk about challenges and failures, and I want you to discuss one. A real tough time you came up against, and tell us how you came out of that in a positive way. What was the learning lesson there?
Something, I don't have one in particular moment that jumps out at me, but one year in particular that was quite challenging in a sense was 2017. It was my second year racing in the UK. I was racing a series called Formula Ford 1600, which is a series that all your ex-Formula 1 drivers would have started off in, like Senna's and Mansells and Brundles and whatever, Damon Hills, Emerson Fittipaldi. All these guys went through Formula Ford 1600. So it's a very, very competitive class in the UK. It's still quite strong and it's full grids at every race. So I done that in the UK in 2017. And also I done that year in the UK racing in the UK Championship, and I raced in the Northern Irish Championship. And I was also doing my final year in high school in Ireland. And in Ireland, it's a little bit different than the US, I think, in the sense that you have a big exam at the end of the year. That's a government style exam, and you have to pass it to get your graduation or graduate from high school. So that year was an extremely busy year in the sense that I was racing 2 championships, trying to graduate from high school. I was away maybe 4 or 5 days a week going racing, and throughout the year with a lot of challenges with the racing program. As I said, there's a lot of variables in motor racing. We'd also a lot of success, but with a lot of tough days as well, and engines going wrong and engines blowing up and not getting good engines from engine builders. And I was making mistakes. I was only racing 3 years at this point, so I was learning a lot. And it was just a huge challenging year in the sense that I had a lot of pressure on the racing front. I was very busy at it. There was a lot of family sacrifices made that year. And the deal was, or the pressure from that year was, okay, well, you got to perform this year. It's your last year in the UK. It's going to determine whether you get an opportunity to go to the US next year. So, as you know, motor racing is a results-based business. So that year was super high intense from a racing point of view, and then trying to deal with only being in high school for 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah, and how on earth did you pull that off? Oh my gosh!
It goes back to it. Yeah, I don't know how I done it. It goes back to what we spoke about, just focus on the now. So I just had to, when I was in school, focus on school. When I was at the racetrack, just focus on racing and focus on what I can control. So it's funny that what we spoke about at the start, that goes back to that challenge. So it was a super challenging year, but it was one that I knew after the end of that year, after everything working out and getting a lot of good results and graduating from high school and then getting the opportunity to go to America, I faced so many challenges. I had so many tough moments. I remember sitting down with my family many times saying, geez, are we crazy doing what we're doing here? Is this right? Because obviously I'm thinking from my mom and dad's point of view as well. They're letting their son not go to school that often and go chase his dream that he has. So there was a lot of family conversations there, and it was just a sigh of relief to a degree at the end of it when it all worked out. And he said, okay, we overcame that challenge, and it was a year-long challenge as opposed to a one-off one.
Wow. Incredible. Well, kudos to you. Obviously, you have a very supportive family and a good group of people around you that helped you through this and guided you through this and gave you the confidence that enabled you to pass it on. But oh my gosh, I can't even imagine, especially at a young age, trying to tackle all that. Kudos to you. How about your first really special race car? I know you've raced several different kinds of cars. We've talked about it, but is there one that stands out that you went, wow, I'm here. This is cool.
Yeah, there's many. I mean, one, if you said what car is really special, there's two. The really special one, I think looking back on it, probably actually happened this year. So I drove one of my biggest supporters and a guy who's a huge influence to me and makes a lot of things happen for me is a guy called John Campion, who you actually had on your show.
Oh yeah, awesome guy. Yeah, maybe a year and a half ago. So John has done a lot for me and Irish Motorsport, and he set up Team Ireland and so on, which is a foundation for young Irish racing drivers to succeed. And I'm fortunate to be on his team.
with his race team, which is called CJJ Motorsports. But as you know, John has a hugely impressive car collection. But August just gone, he flew a Guinness Formula One car over to Ireland. It was in 1989, I think. March Formula One car that was driven by Derek Daly in Formula One that year, and it was backed by Guinness, which is an Irish company. Anyway, they flew the car over to Ireland to the local track here, well, the only track in Ireland, Mondello Park, and we demonstrated the car to Irish Motorsport again. So it was my first Formula One car to drive.
Cool. Yeah.
To drive such an animal, it was just a pure blast. It's 650 horsepower, maybe a little more, and just pure raw driving it. There was no driver aids back then, so I really had to drive it. So that was a special moment in the sense that it was John, who's such a big part of who I am and my career, bringing the car back to Ireland with Derek Daly there to Irish Motorsport, and such an iconic car to Irish Motorsport, given that it was a Formula One car sponsored by Guinness, which is one of the most famous Irish companies in the world. Was just a hugely special moment.
You know, I'll remind our listeners, if you missed my talk with John Campion, you've got to go back. I mean, his story is absolutely incredible of how he got to where he got. I mean, and I do a lot of keynote speaking, and I talk about him in every keynote speech I give about perseverance and fortitude and grit and everything that John has. So go back and listen to his show on the Cars Yeah website. And also, when you go to Cars Yeah and you see James Rowe's show notes page, you'll see him with the car he's talking about. That Guinness F1 car, those wonderful, famous black F1 cars. And of course, this one driven by Derek Daly. Wow, what an opportunity. You know, you're a young guy. Maybe this is a silly question, but is there a seller's remorse story in your life, a car that you've owned? Or maybe it's a race car you've had that you wish somehow you could have kept?
Yeah, I feel as if I'm talking about this car a lot, but I'm going to go back to that Ginetta Junior car that I keep speaking about. It's a car that I started racing in. I saved up to buy, got my first win in it, got my first lap record in it. A lot of blood, sweat and tears put into it. From a family point of view, I remember working on nights after school and on the weekends and cleaning it and coming out of it covered in oil and just stuff like that. I mean, the car has if you want to use the word sentimental value, in the sense I can relate to it so much and have so many memories from it that I'd love to have back, to basically just have there and have as part of the family furniture to a degree. So
sure,
I'm sure I'll get it back sometime. I'll track it down.
There you
Ireland's
go.
not that big.
No. Hopefully it's still in Ireland. Hey, well, let's talk about what has you excited and fired up with the new year. Here we are almost at Christmas time. My gosh, this year has flown by. The new year's coming, 2020. I mean, think about it, 2020. What has you excited and fired up about racing in 2020?
Biggest thing is just getting back on track. So we're looking good. We're all set up for another year of US Formula 3. Everything's going the right direction. We've got amazing partners on board and an amazing team. And it's the second year at a professional level. So from a short-term goal point of view, 2020, we've one goal in mind, and it's as simple as winning the US Formula 3 championship. And there's very, very little things that we're going to let get in our way is our mindset. We're just super, super excited about kicking it off. I mean, this year was great, learning so much and getting a win in front of 60,000 people at Road America, but we wanted that on a much more regular basis in 2020. And to be honest, no stone's been left unturned in our preparation for it so far. I mean, every box that could possibly be ticked has been ticked, and I think everything's just starting to really gel together from a partner's point of view and a sponsor's point of view and team, and everyone, myself, the people that help me out on my driving end of things, and it's just all come together nicely. So I'm super, super excited for kicking it off and seeing where it takes us, and hopefully it'll take us to IndyCar in a few years. That's why we're doing it.
There you go. How can people follow along and watch what you're doing? Is it through your racing website, or what's a good way for us to keep up with you, if that's even possible?
There's many ways. There's social media, James Rowe Jr. on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and my website, jamesrowejr.com, and F3 America's website and social channels, and CJJ Motorsport social channels. So there's many ways. You won't find it hard to spot what we're up to.
There you go. James, up next is the last lap. Before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah sponsors. When you want proven performance, there's one brand that's been around since 1938. That's Edelbrock, building the finest American-made performance products for the street and track. Edelbrock's products are designed and dyno-proven to deliver maximum results. Edelbrock has thousands of made-in-the-USA performance products for all makes and models. From their new AVS2 carburetor and innovative ProFlow 4 EFI for your muscle car or truck, to superchargers for your daily driver and more, visit Edelbrock.com to check out the latest products for your ride. And when you're ready to check out, enter CARS YEAH in the coupon code and get 10% off your order. That's Edelbrock, automotive performance since 1938. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified. And he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. All right, James, we're back, and I have a bit of an introspective question. I'm going to get into your head a little bit here. If you woke up tomorrow and you were a vehicle, could be a race car, a bike, a car, whatever, how you perceive yourself manifested as a vehicle, what would James Rowe be and why?
This is a good question. I don't know. I think I would be, I'm going to say a Porsche 911 Turbo, because they're
nice.
pretty a modern one, not an old one. They're pretty practical day to day, but there's also a bit of a supercar under the hood as well, and they can let loose when they want to. So, I think that's me. There you go. I love it. One of my favorite cars. Yeah, I think if I wanted to go out and spend a lot of money, I'd go out and buy a brand new Turbo S. There we go. You never seen someone crying in a Porsche? No, I haven't either. I don't think I ever have, except maybe somebody hit me or something. So we're entering the last lap here. I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give our listeners some quick blips of that Porsche Turbo throttle. So here we go. What's the best racing advice you've ever received? One quote that I heard was, just do enough to win. And that goes back to a car point of view and looking after your car. So you have certain drivers who can be super good in their equipment and make their equipment last. And if they're in the lead, they're not interested in trashing the car to the end and running out over curbs and like destroying their car. They just do enough just to win the race, and they win the race, and the car is good. It's in good shape. It's ready to win a race tomorrow. So just mechanical sympathy from that point of view when you're doing these championships and it's 18 races over the course of a year. It's very important, I think, just to do enough to win and not do any more. As in, a win's a win, and you're keeping your crew happy and your car happy. You know, I've heard this from a lot of racing drivers I've had on this show, especially endurance drivers like Hurley Haywood, Brian Redmond, Vic Elford, some of the greats that would set up for long distance runs and just take care of your vehicle, do just enough you need. Don't thrash that thing. That's great advice. Nice way to go through life too, by the way. Don't thrash yourself. Do just as much what you need, because there's going to be another day. So sometimes you got to pace yourself. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your racing successes over the years? One thing that I have, which is probably a little bit strange, is I'm sort of a neat freak, or like super keen on attention to detail. Like if I walk into a building or walking up to a building, for some reason I straight away notice all the stuff that's not right, as in like if a picture was skewed the wrong way, or if there was like tools all scattered all over a workshop and all on the bench, and there was oil on the ground. I don't know, just really silly things like that. And like, or if I'm with the race team or in the office of the truck going through stuff, like everything got to be in order. And I don't know, it's just kind of it's the same when I get into the race car. I hate getting into the race car and there's like dirt on the seat, or the car isn't being cleaned. Even if the car wasn't dirty, I don't know what it is, just getting into a clean race car makes you feel better. And it's something that I guess probably has helped me over the years in ensuring that attention to detail is being met on every avenue, not just a race car point of view, but presentations and dealing with people and just doing what you say you'll do, and doing it right with attention is pretty important, I think.
Nothing wrong with that. I understand, though. It can kind of drive you crazy. I have the same affliction. I'll walk into a room and go, oh, that needs to be moved or adjusted. Or why do they do that? It looks so stupid. How about a resource? Is there one you'd like to share with our listeners, a go-to for you?
Yeah. One pretty good one is safeasfast.com. So it's a website that talks about motor racing. It has all the top IndyCar and Formula One guys and sports car guys as ambassadors, and they give their advice. So they speak about many segments, from vehicle dynamics to racecraft to driver fitness to driver mental fitness to dealing with sponsors. And each successful driver gives a short interview on what they think of each topic. And you can learn a lot from it and how the real successful guys think, and they really, really zone in on the right areas. So there's a lot to be learned there on safeasfast.com.
There you go. I'll make sure to put a link to that on James' show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. Now, if I could wave a magic wand and arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the racing industry, living or deceased, who would it be?
It got to be Roger Penske, without doubt. I mean, The guy's just a true and true hero, and IndyCar team owner, IMSA team owner, NASCAR team owner, V8 Supercar team, now owns in Indianapolis.
It's incredible.
Motor Speedway.
I know.
Indy
Just incredible.
500. It's a really successful businessman on top of that, employs over 60,000 people. Yeah. I just don't know how one guy can be so successful in so many different disciplines that it just blows my mind. I don't know how you. Yeah. I don't even know where to start. I know. It seems overwhelming. I just shake my head and go, how do you? That's why they call him the captain, right? I mean, and you think about the term the captain, you can't run a huge ship by doing all the work yourself. You got to surround yourself with really great people and let them do their job. And I think that's a key to Roger Penske's success. He also has vision, which is what a captain needs. He needs to know which part of the horizon to aim for, where to sail, where not to sail. Yeah, Roger. I'm surprised his name doesn't come up more with that question here, because it's just incredible what he's done. But I think he's a very humble, quiet guy. Yeah, absolutely. I've tried to get him on this show, but he doesn't really like to give interviews. He just focuses on what he's doing. I admire that to a degree also. The guy, he probably doesn't have time. I know.
That's the key.
If I was employing 60,000 people and running that many race teams, I'd probably...
you got to manage your time very, very well. Well, that would be a good one. I think he's a great one too. I'd love to sit down with him as well. We'll see if we can set that up. Okay. Yeah. How about a book? Is there a book you've read you'd like to share with our listeners? Yeah, there's actually a book called Make Your Bed, which sounds silly, but it's by a guy called William McRaven, and it's based on a true story. Where it's a very short book, but it's about a Navy SEAL, and they talk about their experience of when they're going through the Navy and all the challenges that they face, and how all the little things add up to make a big difference, as opposed to doing one thing really well, do 20 small things really well, and you'll see a big result. That returns, I can relate to that in motor racing, as in, because I'm racing in a spec formula and all the drivers are good drivers and all the teams are good teams and so on, you start to deal in percentages as opposed to looking for one big chunk to improve. You just improve 10 little areas and you'll see a noticeable gain. So that's a pretty good book in the sense that it just opens up your mind to focus on the right areas and little things add up. I've heard this from a lot of people, but the military mindset, my late father-in-law served in the Marine Corps for 30 plus years. And I remember back when I was dating my wife, we've been married 35 years now, so been a long time, but talking to him about that. And he mentioned that one time, he said the when you go into boot camp, one of the first things they teach you when you get up, you make your bed and you make it a very specific way. And the mindset was to set your day on a track that you can achieve and a result-oriented goal.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It sets a seed in your head. And, you think back to the days when mom used to always bug you, make your bed. What matters, mom? Nobody's in my room but me, Well, moms are pretty smart, right?
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely. His point of view is that no matter how bad your day goes or what goes wrong, you could have the worst day ever, but you're coming home to a bed that's made. And it's one thing that you done right that day. So every day is productive to a degree, even if you have the worst day ever. And
it's pretty simple, isn't it? But it works. Yeah, it works. Yeah. I always think about it when I might be a little lazy. I get up, I look back and go, gotta make my bed. Yeah, gotta make my bed. Well, I'll remind our listeners, you can find all these great resources James has shared with us on his Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in James Rowe, R-O-E, and that page will pop up. All right, James, we're almost to the checkered flag, a place you've been many times. This last question could be a bit of a doozy. Today, I'm going to buy you a very cool, fun collector car. Could be a vintage race car, too, in this case for you. But there are some rules to this game that you have to abide by since I'm writing the check. I'm the sponsor today. I get what I want. So you can't sell this car to buy a bunch of other toys with or fund your racing team. You have to drive it. No garage queens here, so I want you to take it out and enjoy it. And it's the only one cool collector vintage race car that you can have parked in your garage. So choose wisely.
It's got to be I have a soft spot for Group C IMSA cars. And especially after driving John Campion's Spirit of Miami car that he now owns that was driven by Emerson Fittipaldi. They're just an awesome car and they look aggressive and they drive aggressive. So I think I got to buy the Works Nissan Group C car from 1989, and in fact my uncle was a Works Nissan driver that year and he raced it. He put it on pole at the Daytona 24 hours. So the Group C cars have a soft spot and I can relate to it from a family member driving one, and the Nissan cars always looked super cool. So I'm gonna buy a Group C Nissan, that's for sure.
That's a cool choice. Back in the 80s, I was married in the early 80s, and one of the tracks they raced at was at Del Mar. They turned basically a parking lot into a track. And, it's kind of like racing through Long Beach and so forth. Yeah. So they weren't super fast, but lots of turns and twisties. And I remember going over there and watching those races and those cars run and just thinking, oh, gosh, these things are so cool. And,
they're so, I don't think words do justice to describe how fun those cars are to drive. It's just pure power.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Love to get you one of those cars and that particular car. So I'll get to work on that
for
you.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, there you go, James. Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you know. You've taken me on a great ride. I knew this would be fun. I want to thank you for sharing your story with us. Could you offer us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you rip off down the track in that 89 Nissan?
I would say just the longest journeys start with one step and just get going and make it happen. Don't let someone tell you that it's not going to happen. And I think the hardest thing to do in life is to start something. And it's like, I don't know, if you're going training or you're going to go for a run outside and it's cold and it's wet, the hardest thing to do is put your runners on and get going. Once they're on, you're gone. So just take your first step and away you go.
Swallow that frog, as they say.
There you go.
What's the best way for our listeners to keep up with you? I know we mentioned before. Can you go through them real quick again?
Yeah. So JamesRoweJr.com and James Rowe Jr. on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And CJJ Motorsport social media channels. You'll also find me on it. So yeah, as I said, you won't struggle to find us.
There you go. I'll make sure I put links to all those on James' show notes page. Want to give a nice shout out to Scott Merritt of the Dalton Agency for introducing me to James today. Thank you, Scott. He's introduced me to some cool people. James, thanks for being so generous with your time and expertise and for sharing your experiences with our listeners. Our best wishes for a 2020 season and victories all the way along. I'll keep up with you until we talk again. I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Mark Green here from Cars Yeah. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show. It's a weekly visit to some of my past Cars Yeah podcast guests, and I take you along for the ride. You go behind the garage door and into their lives, their businesses, and you get to see what makes them successful. With tens of millions of viewers, Cars Yeah TV is making its mark. Cars Yeah TV is available on MAV TV and Lucas Oil Racing TV. You'll find MAV TV on Direct TV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through Lucas Oil Racing Television online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.